another read aloud. I chose a story called A Sick Day for Amos McGee this time. I really like the story, but I also, of course, really like the art that goes along with it. Um, this is written by Philip Steed, and he wrote it because his wife did all of these, it's called like wood blocking, and so she would take wood and carve it out, and then it's like a stamp at that point. So she would create all of these things in blocks of wood and then put it in paint and then stamp it on a page. And she had this room in their house that was full of all of these characters that she had carved and then stamped onto paper, and he thought that they were so cool that they needed to be brought to life. So he took all of those pictures and he started writing children's books based on the things that she was creating. So that's how A Sick Day for Amos McGee got created, and I think that's a great story. You're probably too far away and it's really hard to really show you, but if you look really closely, like in this elephant's body, you can see all the texture, and that texture comes from the fact that these were stamped out of wood. Like you can actually see wood grain in there. So the art is really neat in this book. So let's read A Sick Day for Amos McGee by Mr. and Mrs. Stead. Amos McGee was an elderly riser. Every morning, when the alarm clock clanged, he swung his legs out of bed and swapped his pajamas for fresh pressed uniform. He would wind his watch and set a pot of water to boil, saying to the sugar bowl, "A spoonful for my oatmeal, please, and 2 for my teacup." Belly full and ready for the workday, he'd amble out the door. Every day, Amos waited for the number 5 bus. "Next stop, City Zoo," the bus driver would call. 6 a.m., right on time, he'd reply. Amos had a lot to do at the zoo, but he always made time to visit his good friends. He would play chess with the elephant, who thought and thought before making a move. Run races with the tortoise, who never ever lost. Sit quietly with the penguin, who was very shy. Lend a handkerchief to the rhinoceros, who always had a runny nose. And at sunset read stories to the owl, who was afraid of the dark. One day Amos awoke with the sniffles and the sneezes and the chills. He swung his achy legs out of bed, curled them back again, and said, "Ugh, I don't think I'll be going to work today." Poor little Amos doesn't feel good. He's so nice to everybody. Meanwhile, at the zoo, the animals waited for their friend. The elephant arranged his pawns and polished his castles. The tortoise stretched his legs and limbered up. The penguin sat patiently all by himself. The rhinoceros worried that his allergies were worsening. The owl perched atop a tall stack of storybooks, scratching his head with concern. Where is Amos? The animals wondered. Later that day, have you guys noticed this red balloon floating around in a lot of the pictures? I like to try to find it. Oh. They're all on the bus. Hooray, my good friends are here. They went to go visit Amos in his sick bed. The elephant prepared a game of chess. Amos thought and thought before making a move. "I'm too tired to run races today," said Amos to the tortoise. "Let's play hide and seek instead." The tortoise hid inside his shell, and Amos hid beneath the covers. Amos yawned. "I could use a nap." The penguin sat quietly, keeping Amos's feet warm. Achoo! Amos woke with a sneeze. The rhinoceros was ready with a handkerchief. "I'm beginning to feel much better, thank you," said Amos to his friends. He swung his legs out of bed. "Perhaps we'll share a pot of tea." Amos wound his alarm clock. "It's getting late," he said. "After all, we have a morning bus to catch." So Amos said goodnight to the elephant, and goodnight to the tortoise, and goodnight to the penguin, and goodnight to the rhinoceros, and goodnight to the owl, who, knowing that Amos was afraid of the dark, read a story aloud before turning out the lights. I think it's just so sweet. I love it, and the pictures are just extraordinary. So I hope you enjoyed A Sick Day for Amos McGee, and I hope you don't have very many sick days. Come read with me soon.